Class people like
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Lander, you've presented yourself as
expert
concrete plans
and
for how we
riposte
put money in
from
reserves.
Zohran. Dude, I know the New York City debate is about to start. I know. I've been waiting for it to start. Okay? The debate.
Crushing costs, pushing New Yorkers out. Crime concerns, from the subways to the streets. Fears of deportation.
What the
in a city by immigrants. The greatest city in the world at a tipping point, with challenges from Washington Heights to Washington, D.C. Who will lead the way is the city's next mayor? Live from Rockefeller Center, the first Democratic primary debate for New York City mayor with City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, former State Assemblyman Michael Blake, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, City Comptroller Brad Lander, State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, State Senator Zelnor Myrie, State Senator Jessica Ramos, former Comptroller Scott Stringer, and former hedge fund manager Whitney Tilson.
Boo!
Sponsored by News for New York, Telemundo 47, Politico, the New York City Campaign Finance Board, and NYC Votes.
Zohran
Here now,
Zindabad!
News for New York anchor David Ushery.
Good evening, everyone, from 30 Rock, and welcome to the first Democratic primary debate for New York City mayor. I'm joined by my colleague, News 4 Government Affairs reporter Melissa Russo, Sally Goldenberg, senior New York editor for Politico, and Telemundo 47 anchor Rosarena Breton. This is a 2-hour debate live on all NBC, New York, and Telemundo 47 streaming and digital platforms.
Yeah, 60 minutes, 4 points, 2 out of 5, 0 assists, 4 rebounds.
This first hour
It's
also
good.
live on Channel 4. The leading Democratic contenders are here tonight.
First question,
Their
do you
positions on
love
stage were
Israel?
chosen by random drawing. Few rules for the candidates. For traditional question and answer, you'll have 1 minute to respond, and we'll offer 30-second
First
rebuttals
question,
at
do
the
you love
moderator's
Israel?
discretion. We'll
Do you
also be asking some
believe
questions where we're
Israel
looking
has a
for
right
shorter
to
answers.
exist
A lot
as
of
a
ground we wanna
Jewish
cover,
nation?
candidates. And we also reserve the right to cut off your microphone if you ignore the rules, but of course we don't want to do that. The goal is here for you to hear each other and for New Yorkers to hear everything you have to say. Good luck to you all. We'll begin with Melissa Russo.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. It's good to have you. We're going to begin tonight with the issue that polls show is number one for New Yorkers, and that is affordability.
Oh,
the cost
damn.
Of
Not do you love Israel?
residents
That's
in our
weird.
city. New housing can take years to build, and we'll get to your plans on that a little bit later in the debate. But right now, we're interested in how you would help residents immediately. So what's your one big idea to make the city more affordable now, and how will you pay for it? We'll begin with you, Ms. Adams.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me this evening. You know, I'm actually the only candidate on this stage who is actually doing the work already. We have a housing plan already. I have built and delivered 120,000 new units of housing. And now with the new proposal that we have in front of us, we have over 80,000 new units of housing that will be coming up and will be affordable to the people of the city of New York. New York is not affordable. I'm a mother, a grandmother, and I want my children to stay here, just like real New Yorkers want their children to stay here.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. I should remind everyone, this is a 30-second answer. We'll go to you next, Mr. Lander.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brad Lander. I'm the New York City Comptroller. I'm a lifelong affordable housing activist, and I'm a proud Brooklyn dad. Tonight, I'll show you that I'm the only one in this race with the progressive values to make the city more affordable, with the public integrity to sweep away the corruption of Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, and with the proven management experience, having already delivered over 50,000 affordable homes to actually deliver on my promises. I'll get 500,000 homes built over the next 10 years.
Okay, we're going to move on to Ms. Ramos. I want to remind everyone the question is, what is your one big idea to make the city more affordable now, and how will you pay for it? 30 seconds, Ms. Ramos.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening. Buenas noches to everyone watching at home. Thank you so much for holding this forum. Affordability has been top of mind for New Yorkers since before the pandemic, but the pandemic only exacerbated the conditions for New Yorkers. This is why I set out as chair of the Labor Committee in the New York State Senate to raise the minimum wage, to tie it to inflation, and I'm proud to be the last person to have done that. I'm the only person on this stage tonight who has already had a desk at the mayor's office, and this is why I know that the first thing I want to do on day one is enact a mental health emergency so that we can keep our streets safe.
Okay, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Myrie, your big idea, I haven't heard many big ideas yet, so if you can answer the question, please, in 30 seconds. Your big idea to make the city
just
more
dookied on the last three.
And how will you pay for it?
Thank you, Melissa. I don't have one big idea. I have three. I want to deliver 1 million homes over the next 10 years. I want universal after school for every kid in this city from age 3 to grade 12. And I want to extend pre-K and 3K past 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. My parents came here 50 years ago, worked in factories to put food on the table, where union members sent me to public schools, and that's how I became a state senator and why I'm standing on this stage tonight. That same opportunity needs to be restored for so many New Yorkers, and that is why new leadership is needed, not the leaders of the past that caused the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Myrie. Mr. Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank WNBC and Telemundo for hosting today in Buenos noches. I'm running for mayor because I think the city is in real trouble.
I'm gay.
I think we have a management crisis between the Adams and Lander administration. I think we have a fiscal crisis where the city is actually spending more every year than it is taking in. And I think we have a societal crisis where we have division and hate. On affordability, raise the minimum wage, put more money in people's pocket, more child care, after-school care, and then, of course, build affordable housing. I was the HUD secretary. I know how to do it.
Thank you. I'm turning it over to Rosarina.
Thank you, Melissa. Bienvenidos a todos. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to ask the same question again, but please listen carefully. You have 30 seconds to answer. What is your one big idea to make the city more affordable now, and how will you pay for it? Again, 30 seconds, Mr. Chilson.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Now it may take a couple of years, but I think we need to address the housing crisis. Most of the people on this stage have called to freeze the rent, but I want to go one better. I think we need to drop rents by 20% by unleashing the private sector to build a lot more housing. This isn't pie in the sky. New York did this 100 years ago. Austin has done it just in the past 3 years. So the key is, though, is to ease the zoning restrictions and all the other regulations that are tying
Thank you, Mr.
private sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mamdani.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. We are live here in the most expensive city in the United States of America. 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty. And I am running to be your next mayor to make this city affordable. I will do so by freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, by making the slowest buses in the country fast and free, and by delivering universal childcare. And I will pay for this by taxing the 1%, the billionaires and the profitable corporations that Mr. Cuomo cares more about than working-class New Yorkers. I will ask them to pay their fair share so we can have a city that everyone can.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Blake.
Can I jump in for one moment? Mr. Mamdani, how will you convince Albany to pass that tax increase? Because from what we've heard from Governor Hochul, it's not really something that she's thinking about doing. How can you guarantee that will happen?
So I have experience in this, actually, because in my first year in the state legislature, I came to Albany, where we had a governor then who didn't want to raise taxes on billionaires and corporations. That was then Governor Cuomo. And we actually overcame his objections, raised $4 billion in new annual revenue, and finally funded the very public schools that he had starved for so many years.
Thank you very much. We have to go with Mr. Blake now.
As a South Bronx native family of Jamaican immigrants, the way we actually address affordability is by ending credit scores and increasing income limits for housing applications, and having universal child care that is happening not just after school, but throughout the weekends. We pay for this by having a vacant apartment tax for those that are not living in New York City, by withholding taxes to D.C. that Trump tried to take against us, and making sure, as much as I love the Knicks, and I'm sorry they fired Tibbs, but they had to, you have to tax what's happening at Madison Square Garden. That is how you pay for it. That is how we have affordability.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Stringer.
I want to actually put forth a program that can get done for young families and for the people who built this city. And it's very simple. We need to use city-owned vacant land, 1,000 properties, and transform that land into affordable housing. That property should go to not-for-profits, to limited profit developers, not the luxury developers that fund Andrew Cuomo's campaign, but the developers that can actually build the Mitchell-Lama 2.0 that we need. We owe it to the people who built this city and are now fleeing the city because they can't afford to live here. And we need to welcome the next generation of New Yorkers who will be here if we give them hope and opportunity and affordability.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer.
Sally Golden.
Thank you. Now let's turn to President Trump, who looms large over the city, given his proposed funding cuts and his interest in hometown affairs. Democrats say they want a mayor who will stand up to him. Mr. Cuomo, you've branded the president a bully. Mr. Stringer, you called him a schmuck. And Mr. Lander, you put his name on a car and crushed it in a TV ad. But voters want to know how you will actually deal with the president if you are elected mayor. We have questions for each of you, and you'll all have 1 minute to answer. Mr. Cuomo, we'll start with you. You have experience collaborating and battling the president.
Oh,
currently,
my God, stop glazing. Stop the glaze. Stop the glaze. Stop the glaze.
Following a criminal referral from Congress, alleging you lied during testimony about your involvement in a report that undercounted nursing home deaths during COVID.
Oh.
With that probe underway, how do you ensure voters that you would not be compromised in your dealings with the president if you were elected mayor?
Yeah. Well, this is what Mr. Trump does, right? He started an investigation against me, against Kathy Hochul, against Senator Chuck Schumer, against Hillary Clinton. This is one of his tactics. I know how to deal with Donald Trump because I've dealt with him before. Many times, we've had many encounters. We fought on a daily basis through COVID, and I won many of those battles.
By killing every senior in the state of New York.
This is not the first time he's brought ICE to New York. He's done that before, and we fought him, and we won. So he can be beaten, but he has to know that he's up against an adversary who can actually beat him. And I can tell you this. I am the last person on this stage that Mr. Trump wants to see as mayor, and that's why I should be the first choice for the people of the city.
Bro, he's
lost
mayor. His step.
Follow up on
he's
that,
also
though. Democrats also raised some concerns about your testimony, so it wasn't only Republicans. But just putting partisan politics aside for a minute, how would you respond to voters about the congressional findings of your involvement in that report?
Yeah, first, putting partisan politics aside is virtually impossible nowadays. It's so toxic out there. The issue of COVID became a political football right away. It still is a political football between Democrats and Republicans, and even within the Democratic Party and within the Republican Party. And it's unfortunate. We should have been learning from the experience and finding out how we could be better prepared for the next time. But unfortunately, in this toxic environment, it's been nothing but politicized over and over again.
Okay, we have to move on, but I just want to add that the question was, how would you respond to the allegations? But we have to move on.
Melissa.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani, you have said that Mr. Trump's Department of Justice can't be trusted, and that was after the news broke of Mr. Cuomo's alleged reported DOJ investigation. First, quickly, just a yes or no answer. Do you think that President Trump is unfairly targeting Mr. Cuomo?
No, I don't think that it's unfair, but I have no interest in believing that they're actually pursuing justice.
Okay. Second part of my question.
And to be clear, it's not unfair because Andrew Cuomo did lie to Congress, but ultimately we know that the Trump Justice Department and the Trump administration as a whole is interested more in vindictiveness and persecution of political enemies than in anything to do with justice.
Okay, so moving forward, you are also a socialist, and because of that, why wouldn't President Trump target you and, by extension, target New Yorkers? You have 1 minute.
President Trump will target whomever is the next mayor of the city. President Trump even targeted his, in many ways, accomplice, Mayor Eric Adams, who has collaborated with the Trump administration at almost every opportunity. And still, in the midst of that collaboration, we saw that New Yorkers are being taken off the streets in their apartment building lobbies. We have $8 being taken out of our city bank account. So I don't think there's any question that there's any mayor here that will be free from being attacked by Donald Trump. What's more important, however, is that we have a mayor who will actually fight back. And that's what I will do. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing for him to accuse me of lying. He also called President Obama a liar and said President Obama was evil. So take everything with a grain of salt. Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
All right, brief response, Mr. Mamdani, then we have to move on.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working-class taxi drivers and actually delivering it to the working-class people I claim.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Lander, you've presented yourself as a tough-talking Trump resistor, but as mayor, you're expected to deliver, including aid for the city. So how can you do that if you're always at war with the president? You have 1 minute.
Look, when Donald Trump and Elon Musk stole that $80 million from New York City's bank account, I uncovered it, I rang the alarm bell, and I forced the mayor into court to get it back. You stand up and fight. You go into court when you are in the right.
Cuomo used his ultimate early with the he hates Barack Obama.
Anywhere in the country to lay out where all that federal money comes into our budget
Expert
with a concrete plans
and
for how we
riposte
put money in
from
reserve
Zohran.
so we'll be able to respond. But look, with all the corruption that's in Washington, we can't have corruption here in New York City as well. It's not only that Andrew Cuomo lied to Congress, which is perjury, he also lied to the grieving families whose loved ones he sent into those nursing homes to protect his $5 million book deal. That's corrupt. That's what I crushed in that junkyard. So when I'm mayor, I will stand up to Donald Trump. I will make sure that we've got a budget that's ready. So when they come for our Medicaid, we've got an independent authority ready to keep providing reproductive health care, housing, and education for all.
Mr. Cuomo, would you like to respond?
Yeah, please. Mr. Lander is a little loose with the facts. If he wants to talk about the facts on nursing homes, we'll talk about the facts. He's just parroting Trump's allegations,
I said it long before he did.
Which were actually disproven by the federal government now.
Which ones are you talking about specifically?
In terms of the rate of deaths in nursing homes, New York is number 38 out of 50. Number 38. Only 12 states had a lower rate of death, which is really something when you consider that we had it first and worse than anyone else. And when it comes to corruption, Mr. Lander knows corruption because his office approved $500,000 of contracts to organizations associated with his wife, which he said his deputy
I would really just like to clear
even though the deputy reported to him.
I would just like to clear one thing up,
it's
Mr.
part
Cuomo.
of the corruption of the city.
It's a lie, and you know it every word.
Yeah.
Lies
I hear
all the
you.
time.
But the question is whether or not it's political and whether or not your congressional testimony was truthful. Were you, now that you've had time to reflect, involved in producing that report that undercounted those nursing home deaths?
Oh, there was no doubt that my administration produced the report, and it did not undercount the deaths.
Okay, but you're still saying you were not involved in producing it.
It's very clear. That's the Trump line, the MAGA line, right? Because this was during the Trump reelection.
Okay.
The New York reports always counted the number of deaths where they occurred, in a nursing home or in a hospital.
Okay.
Now that all the dust is clear.
Okay, we have to move on, though. We have to give other people a chance. We'll have a lot more time on other subjects.
It's a very easy answer.
All right, hold on, candidates.
Did you lie to Congress? All right. Will you acknowledge the deaths?
Okay.
I mean, it's a very black and white.
Okay.
Did you lie to Congress?
It's simple. They undercounted the deaths in the nursing homes. That's it. That's why the DOJ is investigating
All right, here's a
Cuomo.
chance to answer the question as Melissa presented it.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
No, I told Congress the truth. No, we did not undercount any deaths. When they are all counted, we're number 38 out of 50, which I think shows that compared to what other states went through, we had it first and worst, and that only 12 states had a lower rate of death. We should really be thanking the women and men who worked in those nursing homes.
Okay, very quick yes or no follow-up, if I may.
Dude, he's about to bring out the pots and pans and bang workers again.
No question.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was released, Mr. Cuomo, the question is about the production of the report, the creation.
All right,
Okay, we're going to move on. We're not getting an answer. We're not going to
stand by the report.
No, it was just to whether or not you were involved.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Mr. Myrie, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul have negotiated with Trump. Former Governor Cuomo has as well. As mayor, what experience would you bring to the table with President Trump?
Well, let me just say to the people watching at home who are afraid to send their children to school, to the families who are afraid to show up to court proceedings, seeing agents snatch people up doing the right thing, I want to speak directly to you in this moment because you're not hearing that communication. You're not hearing about a mayor that is going to stand up and have a backbone to stand up for our city. I'm the son of two undocumented immigrants who came here for opportunity.
What the
parents could take me to school. They could take me to the hospital without fear of deportation because they knew the city would have their back. That's the kind of mayor that I'm going to be. One that stands up when necessary. Of course, we're going to work with the president when it's in the best interest of the city. But what he has demonstrated over these past 6 months is that he is not interested in helping this city. We have to grow our tax base so that we can be independent from the federal government. And that's why I have a plan to deliver 1 million homes over the next 10 years. It's why I want free after school for every kid in this city. And it's why I want to extend pre-K and 3K.
Chatters, I'm telling Cutie to get Vanilla on the pod. Okay, shut up. I'm working on it.
Trump ahora. You talked about fighting President Trump. In questionnaire that you seek partnership with him. How do you envision working together with him? You have a minute.
You know, I've already seen a very clear blueprint about how to elegantly school President Trump. And we saw it in Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and how she led on negotiating the tariff scandal with the president. And so I'm here to say that not only should my administration litigate to protect immigrants, to protect gender-affirming care, but we should be ready to withhold our federal taxes when Trump unlawfully takes away funding from the things that we need. We have to play chess, and we have to be smart, and our taxpayer dollars are our leverage.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Stringer, the next question goes to you. Fighting Trump has been a key element of your campaign. Is there anything that Trump wants that you will be willing to give him in exchange for something that the city needs? You have a minute.
Look, this is why it's so critical to elect a mayor with real experience. Experience negotiating, experience understanding what the stakes are here. Look, Donald Trump is coming for New York City. He's hell-bent on collapsing the social safety net. He wants to pick kids off the streets, but he also wants to destroy everything we've built in America, in this city. So I know how to fight him because I fought him in Trump 1. When he was coming after us, I managed to divest $4 billion from fossil fuel. I divested from private prisons. I divested from gun manufacturers. He didn't slow me down. He sped me up. But right now, we need a mayor who's going to put aside $1 billion in a very...
Bro, we need a mayor with aura. None of these except for Zohran has aura. And maybe Ramos, too. She's kind of cool, too. But, like, god damn.
And strategize about how we have a short-term plan to get the city to the congressional elections. No one has more experience in city government and knows how to do that than
me. But, Mr. Stringer, the question is, if he wants something in exchange, will you give it to him?
I'm not quid pro quoing with Trump. What I'm going to do...
Oh, I had the Vanilla Mainstream
I'm going to organize, same thing that happened during the days when Ford said to New York, drop dead. We're going to go to the business community. I'm going to go to our congressional leadership, Schumer and Jeffries. I'm going to organize this city and the city government to wage a fight in Washington to protect the epicenter of the national economy, which is New York City.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Mr. Tilson now. And the question goes to you, saying you've been blasting Mr. Trump since 2016 when you reported, call him El Diablo in Spanish, the devil, as mayor. How can you make a deal with him? We're talking about pact with the devil.
Look, I think I've been fighting Trump and Trumpism since long before then, since he came down that escalator 10 years ago this month. But I do think we Democrats have to stop giving Trump gifts, like when we let ourselves be defined by our far left, by socialists with their defund the police nonsense and open borders, et cetera. One area that I do agree with Trump is that when a socialist like Zohran here tweets that the NYPD is, quote, wicked and calls to defund and dismantle the NYPD, that is madness, that is costing us. And it's why Trump has doubled his share of the New York City vote in the last 3 elections from 17% to 30%. We've got to move away from the far left and the socialism that's sinking our party and our city.
Brief response, Mr. Mamdani.
I want to be very clear that police have a critical role to play in creating public safety. And when I speak to those very officers in the rank and file, I hear from them a frustration that where they join the force to tackle serious crimes, we are instead now asking them to play the roles of mental health professionals and social workers. And that is why we are putting forward a plan to create a Department of Community Safety that will tackle gun violence, homelessness, the mental health crisis.
All right, Mr. Mamdani, we might get to some of those issues. I just want a brief response to
It's critically important, and I think it's important in a moment when we have a candidate to my right who is absolutely mischaracterizing anything that we've put forward in this campaign.
You can check his Twitter feed. He has not deleted the tweet that calls the NYPD wicked and to defund and dismantle the NYPD. It's still up.
Thank you, Mr. Tilson.
All right, thank you. Mr. Blake,
those tweets.
You often highlight your past roles in the Obama administration and in leadership of the National Democratic Party, which has since lost the White House and is struggling to regroup. How does that make you effective when it comes to negotiating with President Trump if you were mayor? You have 1 minute.
Well, as the only person on the stage who's been a part of a team that has actually defeated Donald Trump, and as a black man who understands that Trump goes after black folk, just ask the Exonerated Five or Barack Obama, and like them, we will win. I have the experience to make sure we address what's happening in New York City. First and foremost, anytime Trump and Elon try to take our funds, we will withhold taxes and sending in D.C., specifically working with companies that have contracts in New York City and say, you will not abide by unconstitutional behavior. Second, we will ban ICE at our schools and our places of worship. We will designate them as safe havens because there is no reason at all that ICE is going after our immigrants, in particular families like mine from Jamaica. Third, since I have White House experience under President Obama, State House experience locally, as well as what's happening as a reverend and a community leader, you need to understand that there is someone right now who can lead New York City. You have heard people now not be able to answer the question, but they're saying they can actually represent you. I am ready from day one because of what I have. From the White House to the State House to your house, Michael Blake is ready to lead.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Ms. Adams, your most powerful campaign supporter is New York Attorney General Letitia James, an arch rival of President Trump. How would you ensure that you, and by extension New Yorkers, are not a casualty of their war? You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned the Attorney General. She is the most notorious, the baddest Attorney General that New York and the nation has ever seen. And yes, she does endorse me. You know, when the name Donald Trump comes up, the first thing, the advice that I get from the Attorney General is that when Donald Trump comes your way and causes problems for New Yorkers, sue him. That is exactly what I am doing right now as we speak. We have an executive order that is in front of us that is illegal, that Mayor Eric Adams had his first deputy mayor sign. The mayor didn't even sign it, but the first deputy mayor signed it. And it would allow ICE to come onto Rikers Island, Donald Trump's ICE, to come onto Rikers Island, which has been illegal since the year 2014. I have a TRO, a temporary restraining order, that Judge Rosado feels that our case has merit. We have sued him, and New York will win. I will always be a mayor that will stand up for our immigrants. Donald Trump's ICE has no place on Rikers Island. Donald Trump's ICE has no place pulling our people that are taking their legal court dates now. No rights.
Thank you.
Not in my New York.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Sally Goldenberg.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Let's turn to public safety. It's a top concern for many New Yorkers, especially underground on the subways, which so many New Yorkers rely on to get to work. We're seeing fewer robberies and overnight 2 cops on every train, but still many New Yorkers simply don't feel safe on the subways. We'd like to know what plan each of you have to change that. You have 30 seconds, and we're going to change the order and start with you, Ms. Ramos.
Donald Trump's ICE is a lot like Netanyahu's Israel is perfect.
We want to make sure that we are recruiting and retaining police officers.
Donald Trump's ICE.
I'm offering a workforce housing initiative to make sure that we help them be able to keep New York City their home. We want to attract them here. I want to increase their entry-level pay. I want to stop investing taxpayer dollars in RoboCops and toys and actually think about the officers themselves. But we have to assess deployment and upskill our EMS workers to respond to mental health emergencies.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Myrie.
Thank you. I take the train every single day. I took the 5 train to this debate. So I'm experiencing exactly what New Yorkers experience.
Dude, Zohran, much like Bernie Sanders, has been able to single-handedly change the dynamic of any election, any Democratic primary that socialist enters, it changes the entire discourse. Every single person's talking about how they use the fucking metro. Every single person's talking about how they want to do affordable health care and maybe even, affordable rent by like possibly doing radical changes like rent freezes and that. It's so crazy how the moment that you have a prominent contender that is saying like actually socialist shit, everybody else goes, oh, I'm a socialist too. I'm not a socialist, but like I want to do socialism. I would like to do socialism. It's crazy. The center of gravity always shifts towards the most credible candidate. Always. And in Democratic primaries, that most credible candidate is every single time the person who is earnest and the person who is closest to true socialism.
And the subway stations and get them the help they need. We did it before. We can do it again.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo.
We're going to fact check that he literally said defund the police himself when he was governor. All right.
All right.
No,
we're coming around to you.
This is the third time he's literally lied about everyone on the stage.
We'll get to
We're coming around.
We'll get to this.
Are you saying you didn't say, Andrew, are you saying you didn't say defund the police?
I never supported defund the police.
Are you saying you never said defund the police?
I never supported.
Can you just answer the question?
I used the words defund the police.
Again,
I said I don't support defund the police. So
you just said everyone else did that, but you would not acknowledge.
Mr. Cuomo, did you say?
He did.
All right, hold on, gentlemen.
Did you say that it was a legitimate school of thought?
Hold on. Let us frame a question here.
I think that Mr. Blake may be talking about something you said, which is that both are legitimate schools of thought. Defund or don't defund. And you gave it some legitimacy in public.
I disagree with defund.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'd still like to respond.
We're coming around.
We'll be coming around. We're coming around to everybody.
Mr. Tilson.
Yeah. I'm fully supportive of the increased police presence in the MTA. In fact, transit crime is down this year. It shouldn't be, I shouldn't have to say this, but the key to reducing crime.
I'm Whitney Tilson, and I want cops to have extra money in their Candy Crush accounts.
Out there enforcing the laws, and we need to make crime illegal. And this is now happening down on the subways.
We need to make crime illegal.
Starting to enforce the lower level crimes, quality of life crimes.
It was legal. I'm going to make it illegal.
Drinking. Spreading out over the subway
cars. Get a bigger ribbon, dumbass.
Police are arresting more.
Clown.
30% of the people they are arresting have criminal records of more than
Okay, I'm sorry. We do have to move on.
each.
We're at time. Mr. Mamdani.
In my department,
no, the yellow ribbon is remember the hostages ribbon. It's not. It's no longer for the troops.
Teams of mental health outreach workers who will be deployed to the top 100 subway stations with the highest levels of mental health crises and homelessness. We are actually going to address this in a manner that goes beyond the same ideas that we hear time and time again, recycled by the same politicians like Andrew Cuomo, who brought us to this point. And if we care about the police force, then we have to actually listen to police officers. They are leaving this force, 200 of them each month. And when you ask them why, it's because of the forced overtime. And part of the reason that is taking place is we're asking them to respond to every failure of the social safety net.
Thank you, Mr. Blake.
The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety in New York City. Now, specifically to your question, I have said very specifically, we need 1,000 mental health professionals on our subways and streets. And so therefore, you can have police then with body cameras on go do precision policing outside. The police will indicate they were not trained on addressing mental health. Let's utilize those persons who need the help immediately.
Blake,
if we take
you're
those
stealing
steps,
Zohran's bars, bro. You're stealing his steam. Zohran invented that line.
But I want to give Cuomo an opportunity to respond.
Stick to roasting Cuomo. Don't steal his
of sexual harassment allegations in your administration.
Just if people who are watching at home have to be incredibly frustrated. They defunded the police. They reduced the number of police. They're now saying we need more police. We should have reduced them in the first place. And we need mental health experts to address the homeless mentally ill. And we do that by getting them off the train so we can assess them and get them to mental health.
Would you like to respond to Mr. Blake's comment about sexual harassment?
Should listen right now.
All right,
that Andrew Cuomo would not respond when had a chance about sexual. Every woman watching tonight, he was just given a chance to actually address the clear claims that were stated and ignored it.
Okay, we do have to move on because we have other candidates on stage and we want to hear about their subway safety plans. Mr. Stringer, can we please hear about your subway safety plan?
I'm absolutely qualified to answer.
Listen, gentlemen, listen. We
are moving on from this question. You had an opportunity to respond. Mr. Stringer, please tell us your subway safety plan.
Kids, it's grown-up time, so just give me a second, okay? Let me straighten this out for you.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate that.
No, you got it, man. So look, we're spending $1.3 billion in police overtime because we don't have enough police officers. We have the lowest police count in a generation, so we need to hire 3,000 more cops. But in order to get more cops, we have to go into our communities and get the wonderful, diverse citizens to come into a department.
We need more black
also
cops.
Have to
we need more black and brown cops.
That's something I'm going to do.
We need more Druze cops.
The crisis
we need more
we have
Arab cops,
not just
Iranian cops, Dominican cops.
The people who suffer from mental illness, and we have to align policing with the mental health initiative. Why Andrew Cuomo has the nerve to talk about defund when he signed the bail reform bill with loopholes that you didn't even read the bill? That is something that really caused the crime problem in our city.
We're at time, Mr. Stringer. Ms. Adams.
Thank you so much. To address this claim that everybody's called for defund, I have never called for defunding the police, and I never will. In the 2021 budget of the City Council, we were in a season of COVID, and many agencies had to be reallocated. Their funding had to be reallocated. Many agencies, not just the New York Police Department, but many. The City Council, our funding was even reduced during that season of COVID. But my public safety agenda calls for police to be taken out of social work and mental health, for our police to be paid what they are worth. We have always supported a budget that reinforces our police department.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. We're at time. Mr. Lander, again, the question is about looking forward, your subway safety plan.
Yeah, I've got a dear friend whose middle school daughter, who takes the train to school, was pushed to the ground by a homeless person with serious mental illness. This is a big deal for all of our families, which is why I have a ready on day one, detailed, clear plan to end street homelessness for people with serious mental illness. We don't have to be a city where a couple thousand of our mentally ill neighbors cycle from subway to street to hospital to jail and back again. It's a plan called Housing First. It will work. I do have to go back, though, because in the prior round, the former governor told a lie sourced from Twitter about my wife. And when I go home tonight, I better be able to make clear it's 100% false, and he knows it.
Thank you, Mr.
Mario
Lander.
Cuomo famously campaigned and
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lander. We're going to move on. Melissa has another set of questions about public safety.
Please don't talk. Please don't talk. We're going to try to get as much in as we can.
If you won't lie about my wife, I'll be good the rest of the time.
Thank you. Okay, we are all familiar with what it's like to try to buy toothpaste or beauty products.
I'm sorry, you will never convince me that this man I'm listening to is not Douglas Emhoff, okay? No, this is not anti-Semitism, but much like Douglas, Brad is also a major wife guy and has the exact same dweeb energy, okay?
Often receive a ticket to appear in court, usually released to steal again. That's how law enforcement describes it again and again. So we have a few specific questions, and you're going to have 30 seconds to answer. Mr. Cuomo, we will start with you because you signed the bail reform legislation. Governor Hochul has made some changes since you did that. Do you think bail reform is working? And how would
much
you
like
stop
Douglas, I thought Brad was gay.
and other low-level repeat crimes? You have 30 seconds.
Yes. Just to go back, if Mr. Lander says his office didn't approve 500,000 contracts, that his deputy approved, affiliated with his wife's organization.
Every word a lie.
The deputy reports to him.
Every word a lie, and he knows.
Well, then it's easy enough to check.
Mr. Cuomo, you're using your time, just so you know. You're going to have 30 seconds.
Yeah. On bail reform, we all talk about how terrible Rikers Island is.
Is he not gay? He's talking about his wife.
It's a disgrace that it is still being operated by the city.
Your time is up, Mr. Cuomo. I'm sorry.
Crazy?
Per person. And
I thought he was gay until he started talking about his wife. I guess he's not gay, right?
Mr. Myrie, you voted for bail reform as well. How would you stop shoplifters if you were the mayor and other low-level crimes that are taking a toll on our city?
I actually don't know.
Anyone that breaks the law needs to be held accountable, and we made changes to our criminal justice laws because things needed to change. And here's how I know. I was robbed with my mom in an elevator in the building that I grew up in when I was very young. Her worldview is informed by that experience. We have to ensure that every New Yorker feels safe in every neighborhood, wherever they are. And that is what I'm going to do as mayor. I'm going to return our police headcount to what it was in 2018. And I'm going to ensure that all New Yorkers feel safe wherever they are.
Time. Thank you. Rosarina.
Yeah, Ms. Ramos, the same questions to you. You voted for bail reform. How would you stop shoplifters and other low-level crime to take a toll in the city?
Well, we have a little more than 1,000 recidivists in the city of New York, and I've been hard at work in the Senate already, making sure that we're looking at treatment courts in cases of kleptomania. But clearly, there are organized rings that need to be taken down by the NYPD. So I'm here to say that there's accountability to be had.
Address the root causes
of crime. We have to make sure that there is a balance with the job opportunities that should open up if we address all of the crises that we are facing.
But let's remember that you voted for the bail reform.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mandani, you opposed to rollbacks to bail reform, and you do not want to hire more cops above the current authorized levels. How would you stop shoplifters and these repeat offenders? What's your approach?
I want to sustain the headcount that we have in the police department. And I want to listen to police officers who are leaving in droves from the department because they're being asked to do the work of mental health professionals and social workers. Right now, police officers pick up hundreds of phone calls a day that are in mental health crises, hundreds of thousands a year. That's not the work that they signed up to do. And when it comes to shoplifting and retail theft, the key here is to listen to workers themselves. They have spoken time and time again about the need for increased staffing in our Walgreens and our Duane Reades. And when it comes to organized crime,
Thank you very much.
We have to ensure the police actually hold them accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Mandani. Mr. Blake, do you see a need for change to the bail reform, and how would you end the retail theft as mayor?
Absolutely. So I proudly supported it when I was in the assembly because Khalif Browder was my constituent. When we talked about raise the age and bail reform and speedy trial, we had to do that. But we need to make it different and stronger now. And to your question, that means we have to hold repeat offenders more accountable, be much more attentive to that degree. But the broader dynamic, if we help New Yorkers make and keep more money in their pocket in the first place, then we wouldn't have people speaking about shoplifting. That's why we need to have local median income. That's why we have to have guarantees. That's why we have to help people on the front end so we're not talking about them being arrested on the back end.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blake. Sally.
Thank you. Mr. Stringer, we're going to go to you with the same question. Do you see a need for any further changes to the state's bail laws? And how would you tackle retail theft as mayor?
Well, look, I've seen retail theft in my own neighborhood, walking into a Duane Reade with my kids and just seeing the shelves empty and then having to push a button, wait 10 minutes for a young staffer whose job is not to be my personal shopper. This is wrong. And that's why we need to put cops on the beat, working with the small businesses to root out the people who are constantly coming back to do this. But we also have to make sure that the people who are doing the stealing also have opportunities to get them the housing and the services that they need. See, we have to walk and chew gum at the same time when it comes to criminal justice.
I just want, since you used your time, just a yes or no question. Do you see a need for further changes to the state's bail laws? Just yes or no?
Look, I think right now it's been changed a couple of times.
Okay.
When let me just say, when Cuomo signed it, he didn't do the work of a mayor or governor. The mayor and the governor are supposed to go through legislation and find the loopholes, and he didn't do that, and that's too bad.
We're moving on to Ms. Adams. Ms. Adams, same question to you. Do you see any need for changes to the state's bail laws, and how do you plan to tackle retail theft as mayor?
Well, the state just made some adjustments and some tweaks, so let's see how that goes. We need to take a look at the ringleaders at the higher levels of the folks that are carrying and actually doing the stealing. Low-level criminals are wasting away on Rikers Island. Some have committed suicide under this current administration. So what we need to do as far as public safety is concerned, I will fill the over 2,000 vacancies within the NYPD in my first 8 months as mayor. This is what we need to look at. Others are looking at bringing in thousands and thousands of police officers. We have vacancies to fill. This will work. This is what our NYPD needs, better management.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lander, do you see a need for changes to bail reform, and what would you do as mayor about this retail theft?
I've got a detailed plan to combat retail theft, so the toothpaste is not always behind lock and key. You can look it up on my website. To develop it, I took lessons from NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who I want to keep as commissioner because crime's coming down and accountability is going up. It involves giving a panic button, essentially, to retail stores. So they don't have to call 911. They can report quickly. Investigations can be thorough.
I don't know what it is.
And
It's
I've
just
actually
like
taken
weirds
the
me
idea
out.
from the conservative Manhattan Institute that drug treatment courts need to be central in our response.
He sounds whimsical. You know what I mean? He's like, aha. Methinks there is a quiz afoot.
Quick response? Okay.
Ms. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Sally, you had a quick question here.
Yeah, well, I guess we also for Mr. Tilson.
Yes. Mr. Tilson, I'm going to let you respond. But just on that, Jessica.
Yeah, I guess because Mr. Lander brought her up, just a quick show of hands. Who else would keep Jessica Tisch as police commissioner? Okay, thank you.
Haven't decided yet.
Okay. Correct. All right. Mr. Tilson, you said you would cut crime by 50%. Do you want changes to bail reform? What can you do to tackle this low-level crime?
Yeah, well, I do very much believe we need to make substantial changes to bail reform and discovery reform, both of which went too far. Like what I said earlier, we basically decriminalized all low-level crime. Shocker, it went way up. So we need to have more police officers enforcing the law, and we need to change the legislation such that prosecutors can actually punish repeat offenders. I just talked to a cop right here in Midtown North last week who told me they're down from 300 cops to 120, and they have to fill out so much paperwork when they make an arrest that the criminal is back out onto the street before they're finished with the paper.
All right, Mr. Tilson, thank you. Rosalina.
Thank you, David. Now we're going to talk about e-bikes. Bicycle deaths in the city have reached record heights in the recent years, with injuries also surging, many involving, of course, e-bikes. Just the past hour, Mayor Adams announced a plan to impose a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on e-bikes. Do you believe this is the right way to improve safety? And what else would you do, Ms. Adams?
I think there's like 50 candidates, and it's cool that there's 10 debate moderators. We should just have more candidates and more debate moderators. You know, make it a free for all. Make the number of moderators 25. Make the number of candidates 100. Put them all on stage.
Normally does. He does not collaborate with the city council.
I want to hear from a guy who owns a bodega who's now running for mayor. You know,
and I believe is a penalty, which we could have come together and realize something much more reasonable for e-bike riders.
Just to clarify,
15
I understand.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. Lander.
I think the pedal assist city bikes go 17 miles per hour, so that seems pretty good to me. But we've got to go upstream here to the folks that are causing this. Uber Eats and Seamless and DoorDash need to be held accountable for the trips that are taken where they're making money. They've got the data to keep folks safe. And, you know, you can't operate a car dealership in this city that sells cars without license plates to people without driver's licenses. So we've got to hold the sellers of mopeds accountable. Those are motor vehicles, and they need to be treated that way if you're going to sell them. They've got to have licenses. They've got to have license plates. They have to operate safely.
I saw there's a new travel ban implemented by Trump.
Well, we have to end the criminalization of our delivery workers and bicycle riders. A lot of enforcement has now changed from civil summonses to criminal tickets, and that is leaving breadcrumbs for ICE and leaving many of our community members vulnerable. That being said, it is high time that we post speed limits and adapt our street design for the use of bikes and e-bikes. The fact is that we have to get them off the sidewalks. We have to make sure that they are abiding by the rules. And this is why we need public education in English, in Espanol, in all of the languages that our riders speak.
Thank you very much. Mr. Myrie.
There's no question that things feel different on our streets and that these categories of vehicles are not built for our current structure and on our streetscape. So we have to regulate. We have to hold the companies that are making money more accountable on this. But we also have to ensure that we are doing this in collaboration, doing this in a smart way, and ensuring that the enforcement on this is actually going to be going through. What we have seen is uneven enforcement in this space, and that's why there are older adults in this city that are afraid to cross the street because of how things feel.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes, I think this is another example of just dysfunctional city management. We passed a state law allowing e-bikes. It was supposed to be regulated by the city. You've had all sorts of accidents, all sorts of warnings. The city has done nothing. The speed has to come down. City bikes voluntarily came down to 17 miles an hour. You have these e-bikes, some of them doing 25, 30 miles an hour. You have to bring down the speeds, but you also have to have them registered by the apps. They're the ones who are making the money. Let them license, let them register,
Cuomo.
let them pay the tickets.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tilson.
This issue is actually quite personal to me because I ride my bike in the city every day. And in fact, I'll bet I'm the only mayoral candidate in history who ever rode his bike to the mayoral debate. As I did,
you're sweaty. Boo, you're sweaty.
Have made things a lot more dangerous, not just for pedestrians.
Get a bigger ribbon.
So I've been calling to
I ride
speed
my
limit
bike.
them,
Shut up, nerd.
Since the beginning of my campaign. I totally agree with that. And I will tell you, just in the past couple of months, since police have started issuing citations, the e-bikes are behaving themselves a lot more. I see a lot fewer blowing through red lights, blowing up on the sidewalk.
Thank you, Mr. Tilson. Let's remind you guys that these are the people taking, most of them, your food to your offices and your homes. Mr. Mandan.
You know, I find it ridiculous to hear Andrew Cuomo talk about how we need to regulate the apps when this is the very mayoral candidate who has a super PAC that received $1 million from DoorDash. How are you going to regulate DoorDash when they are giving you $1 million to influence your street safety regulations and your labor regulations? This model, this economic model, is one that doesn't just incentivize e-bike riders to break street safety laws. It often requires them to do so to make the
Mr. Cuomo, do you want to respond to that?
Yes. I work for the people of the state of New York, the people of the city of New York. I don't care who gave me what. I do what is right, and that's how I.
But you don't feel compromised?
That's how I've always run my.
But don't you feel
career.
compromised?
I just said the apps should be held responsible. They are the ones who should have to license the bike, register the bike. They should be responsible for the fees. They're the ones who are making the money.
Thank you, Mr.
And in terms of who represents who.
Thank you very much. We have to go to Mr. Blake.
Mr. Blake.
Just want to make sure we internalize that Andrew Cuomo just said, I don't care who gave me what. That's not a man who's actually going to break the corruption in City Hall. You need a new vision right here. To your question around e-bikes,
this guy's
one of the reasons why we cannot have an increase of people getting tickets is that it will absolutely lead to the harassment of more communities of color and immigrants in particular. Now, we definitely have to focus on what's happening around speed limits, but also how to reimagine what our city can be, because we cannot continue to have a 2025 city with a 1905 infrastructure.
Mr. Blake,
so we've laid out the vision at BlakeForNYC.com on how to address e-bikes as well as a new city.
Mr. Stringer.
Let me start by asking, just answering the question. Yes, I think 15 miles an hour is reasonable, and I think the mayor is right about this. But in the time that I have, I do want to follow up about DoorDash, because that $1 million contribution crossed the Rubicon. And the contributions of donors who are giving between $250,000 and $1 million are fundamentally buying the mayoralty. And that is something that we spent 20 years never trying to get to again since City for Sale.
Mr. Stringer, thank you.
You are writing a new book about how to take the mayoralty 1, 2, 3. And I find it offensive.
Thank you. Brief response, Mr. Cuomo.
Yeah, I live with the campaign finance rules. They're talking about independent expenditure committee. And let's remember who represents who here. I am the person on this stage who represents the working men and women of New York City. The labor unions have endorsed me, over 650,000 strong.
You were fined by the campaign finance board. I got this.
We have to move on. I think the issue's been spoken to and addressed. We have another question here for you. We'd like 30 seconds on this. You've all spent years in politics. What's your biggest regret? We'll begin with you, Mr. Blake.
Well, right now it's dealing with the campaign finance board, who is illegally not having me on the second stage, where they have now admitted in writing 4 times that they made incorrect determinations on my matching funds. And if you go to our website, you're going to see we challenge that.
Is that a regret of something? Your regret in this? Or?
Well, my regret is that I've been trying to have patience with the campaign finance.
Okay, Mr. Blake, thank you. Mr. Mamdani, biggest regret in your years in politics?
You know, as a Democrat, one of my regrets is having trusted the leaders within our own party, leaders like Andrew Cuomo, because what we've seen is that kind of leadership has delivered us to this point where we are under attack by an affordability crisis on the inside and a Trump administration on the outside. And Democrats are tired of being told by leaders from the past that we should continue to simply wait our turn. We should continue to simply trust when we know that's the very leadership that got us to this point. We need to turn the page for new leadership to take us out.
Mr. Tilson?
Yeah, my biggest regret is that I didn't see Joe Biden's decline and call for him to resign earlier. It wasn't until after the debate that I became one of the loudest voices publicly, nationally.
Oh, shut up. Nobody cares about you. Blake is going to see a big uptick, I think, in favorability after this debate because he had a strong performance. So strong that it almost made Zohran look moderate, which is not necessarily a bad thing in the eyes of a lot of New Yorkers. After the AOC endorsement, I believe Zohran to the moon.
Connection with reality, where a person who has served in government for
they
several
literally
years,
chopped Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is going to drop in favorability, I think.
The greatest city on the earth. And the Democratic Party seems okay with that.
Mr. Cuomo, this question was about your personal regrets.
Stop saying if AOC endorses. I'm saying when she does.
The state of the Democratic Party is that we elected Trump.
Not the 15th.
No regrets when it comes to cutting Medicaid or health care. No regrets when it comes to cutting child care. No when it comes to slow walking PPE and vaccinations in the season of COVID to black and brown. No regrets. No regrets.
We have to protect city's retirees.
Okay, we want everyone to be able to respond.
Retirees.
Okay, we want to respond to this, Mr. Cuomo. You only have a few seconds.
Yeah, but
no, I understand, but
it's not. It is just not accurate. Medicaid went up under me. I led the nation under COVID. Okay. I pushed President Trump to give us everything he had.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo. Right.
I was there every day.
You expressed it.
Leading COVID.
Okay.
No regrets.
I have to ask him something.
All right.
Mr. Cuomo, I'm sorry. I'm sure that people at home must be wondering about your answer to this question because we speak to voters throughout the city and quite a few of them will say, I'm not sure exactly what happened with those sexual harassment cases. We know that you say you never sexually harassed anybody. You say you're running to restore efficient government and efficient leadership. But in the past, your leadership came with what more than one investigation concluded was a toxic work environment,
we didn't even get to the sexual harassment
and some of those cases are still ongoing. So I just want to ask you, since we're talking about regrets, you have apologized to some of those women back when you were still governor. What do you say to voters now, looking ahead to your potential mayoralty? Are you doing anything differently? And why should they believe that that same situation won't happen again?
Yeah, Melissa, let's just make sure we have the facts. A report was done 4 years ago.
Look up this
making
Blake
certain
fella because I think he's
allegations.
actually number one at the moment. Oh, shut the fuck up.
That it was political and it was
Is Zohran
false.
number one?
5 district attorneys, Democratic, Republican, short, tall, looked at it all across the state, found absolutely nothing. 1 case has been resolved. I was dropped from that case.
Dog, half of the candidates that said good things about policies directly ripped them from Zohran. What are you talking about?
It was unintentional, but I apologize, and I say that today.
There was also a Justice Department investigation, but we'll move on because we're out of time.
We detoured there because the issue raised, but we also want everyone to respond. Mr. Murray, biggest regret in politics?
I regret not having secured more funding for after school earlier in my career, but I want to turn to Andrew because
these are short answers.
And I think you
I have 30 seconds.
Women.
Yes.
When I was in the ICU during COVID, writing legislation to protect my community, you were the most powerful person in this state, and you were in the governor's mansion taking a $5 million deal. Do you regret taking the $5 million, and will you give it back?
Yeah. First of all, that's not true.
What
I stood up every day and fought for this state for COVID against President Trump. for PPE, for masks. I was in emergency rooms.
I was in a hospital.
All right, gentlemen, I need
nurses were wearing
gentlemen, I
understand. Garbage bags for PPE.
Yes.
Do you regret taking
we're going to pick up.
We were doing everything we could every day to get.
Mr. Cuomo, people aren't going to hear you if you. We are going to finish this.
Take a break.
We have a break right now that we have to take. We will pick up with the issue. I assure you. We're just about at the 1 hour break. We're going to continue this online. Channel 4 goes to regular programming, but wherever you stream, News 4 New York.
Okay, my thoughts are, yes, Blake definitely took up a lot of the air from Zohran, but it is definitely something to take note of. When Bernie was in the running and he was a serious contender, half of the Democratic Party's options resembled a watered-down version of Bernie Sanders' campaign promises. Just like now, Zohran is the second contender and the candidate that will most likely defeat Andrew Cuomo, and you have so many other candidates on that stage that are basically biting all of the promises that he has made, okay, that he's been running on for months. In a weird way, the less Zohran talks and the more everyone else shows themselves to be lame, but also shitting on Cuomo, the better Zohran looks. The only threat that I have perceived from tonight, is coming from Blake. Okay? He is unironically doing Zohran as good as Zohran, if not better than Zohran at sometimes. The fact that after Zohran speaks, no one is evil socialist moron rage responding to his commentary is 100% positive for him. Yes, Zohran has done a fantastic job of taking directional questions that are supposed to be attacking him and then redirecting it back to Andrew Cuomo. He's done a amazing job. Zohran did a TikTok about people taking from him.
12 across. What's a 5-letter word for taking something? 2 years ago, I won New York City's first fare-free bus pilot, one line in each borough, and it was a massive success. As mayor, I'll make every bus fast and free. So imagine my surprise when Andrew Cuomo, the same guy who stole hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA as governor, suddenly announces his brand new idea.
Today, Cuomo unveiled his transportation policy.
They're ripping. They're straight up ripping his shit.
Every one of those things is false. The thing about my wife was sourced from Twitter. Honestly, I have no idea where he got this one. He's lied to you so many times on this stage tonight. Takes no responsibility.
All right, we're going to move on. Miss Adams, if you could speak to your biggest regret. Thank you. Ms. Adams, your biggest regret in your years in politics?
Well, obviously, my biggest regret is believing that Eric Adams would be a good mayor for all New Yorkers. I have had to restore budget cuts from this mayor. I've had to save pre-K. I've had to save 3K. I've had to save our libraries. I've had to save our cultural institutions because the mayor of the city of New York thought that it was his job to cut all of those and to slice and dice the livelihoods of our children, cultural institution, our elders, our seniors through their library services and their food services as well. I have had to be the champion to make sure that all of those services were restored for the people of the city.
Mr. Stringer.
I thought about this question through my career, and I would say that the biggest regret from a policy perspective was when my mom died of COVID before her time, and she was a great trailblazer, the first woman elected city council in Washington Heights back in the day. She was a real fighter, but she lost the fight with COVID. I really wish, before I left the comptroller's office, that, like with so many other issues, I really was able to really build a COVID recovery plan for the city.
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Stringer.
just ran out of time.
We'll continue with Telemundo anchor Rosarina Beton.
I thought he was going to say Cuomo
killed her. A very important
her.
issue for my viewers in Telemundo
Oh my
47.
God, if he had accused Cuomo of murdering his mom, that would have been insane.
So, as we know, President Trump wants to abolish sanctuary cities like New York, and his administration has applied pressure to force cooperation on deportation. So to understand a little bit more this issue, we're going to give you couple of scenarios, hypothetical scenarios, and you're going to have a minute to answer this one. Mr. Cuomo, we are going to begin with you. Let's say ICE notifies your city-run hospitals that they must stop offering medical care to undocumented patients, or the federal government is going to withhold millions of dollars in funding. What would you do?
I've gone through this with Mr. Trump before with ICE.
But what would you do now?
You cannot give in to Mr. Trump and his demands. You cannot.
But let's say he's cutting funding.
You can't. It will never end. If you give in to him, he is a bully. I know him well. If you give in to him today, you will be giving him your lunch money for the rest of your life.
So what's the solution?
You have to fight him. And the way you fight him is not by suing him. Yes, of course you sue him, but he gets sued 10 times before he gets out of bed in the morning. Right?
Kind of like you.
That doesn't
and the
bother
lawsuits
him,
are winning,
right?
by the way.
We need a national coalition, which we can put together, of like-minded states and cities that will oppose these actions. And then we're going to have to eventually beat him politically in the Congress, but you cannot give in to his demands.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo. Mr. Chilson?
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump throws 50 tweets a day up there, and most of the time you just ignore him. If he actually does act illegally to try and blackmail us, you have to sue to restore that funding. I am appalled by what Trump is doing to terrorize immigrant communities and demonize immigrants in general, and that's an area I will fight him tooth and nail.
Mr. Mandani?
Our city is under attack by an authoritarian Trump administration, and it is under attack that is now being echoed by Trump's allies right here in New York City. And I say that as someone who would be the first immigrant mayor of the city in generations, someone who just yesterday had a sitting elected official call for me to be deported. This is not an intellectual exercise for the people of New York City. We deserve to have a mayor who is not funded by the same billionaires that put Donald Trump in D.C. We deserve to have a mayor who will actually fight back. And the way that we fight back is ensure that our local institutions continue to provide the services to each and every New Yorker.
But the question is, how can you protect those people? Going to hospitals, how can you protect them?
Here's the thing. The Donald Trump administration will use the fact that they fund 7% of our city budget as leverage over us to try and give up whichever category of New Yorkers they are pursuing in that day. Ultimately, what we need to do is tell those same institutions we will provide them that funding, and we'll get that funding by taxing the 1% and the wealthiest corporations right here in New York State.
Thank you so much. Mr. Blake, I'm going to remind you the question is, ICE notifies the hospitals that they're not going to offer care to immigrants. How can you solve this situation?
As a son of Jamaican immigrants, where I was born with a heart murmur in North Central Bronx Hospital, and my mom that's watching right now, and my wife who's Jamaican and Honduran, this is important for us to expand the conversation of what's happening. To your question, we create the protections by designating hospitals, schools, community centers, places of worship as safe havens where ICE is not permitted to enter unless there's a signed judicial warrant. Moreover, we have to expand the conversation. We've made very clear we will remain a sanctuary city to make sure that we are protected, full stop. But it also is important about how do we have the rhetoric. That we will not tolerate rhetoric against our immigrant communities. The same way we will not tolerate anti-Semitic behavior. We will not tolerate Islamophobia. We will not tolerate anti-Blackness and anti-Latino rhetoric. And that means at the same time, we have to protect our nonprofits that are helping our immigrants as well, which is why I said you must grant as well as reimburse nonprofits earlier that are helping our immigrants, in particular our undocumented ones right now.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Stringer.
Look, we first have to make it clear that the buck does not stop with Donald Trump. And that's why the very rainy day fund I proposed would immediately allow us to build back the health services that the federal government could take from us financially. This is why we need a mayor who knows the buck, because that's the job of mayor, understanding how we actually get through the Trump era. But it doesn't stop there. Look, my experience has always been about fighting in Trump 1. And we won a lot of those battles. We won those battles during COVID. We never backed down, but we were strategic. And that's why we need to work with our Washington partners. You know, there are Democrats in Washington ready for the fight with a mayor who brings a confidence and a proven ability to deal with the economics of this crisis. But this is not a time for training wheels. This is not a time for somebody who has never dealt with the finances of the city to be mayor of New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stringer. Now, Ms. Adams, we're going to go to you next. We're going to change a little bit the situation. Let's say that you learn that ICE is planning to stop immigrants outside your hospitals for possible roundups. Would you warn them? And how would you handle this situation? You have a minute.
You know, it's work that I'm already doing as Speaker of the City Council. So I've already stepped up in leadership to do this. I've had a target on me because I refuse to erode our sanctuary city.
They're not even watching the debate anymore. They moved on. Is playing Chicago Med now? God
Mayor
damn.
is to protect the immigrants of the city of New York. New York is a city made up of immigrants. So it is our responsibility to make sure that all New Yorkers, our old New Yorkers and our newer New Yorkers, feel safe in this city. As mayor, I will not kowtow to Donald Trump.
But would you warn them that they're...
I will absolutely use my bully pulpit as the mayor to warn, as I am doing as City Council Speaker pretty much on a daily basis. The work that I am currently doing as Speaker, I will expand as the mayor of the city of New York. Donald Trump will know that city, regardless of his threats and his chaos. We will stand because we are a city and a nation, and we will be that model once again for other cities in this country.
Thank you very much,
to take a look at and to work towards becoming like New York.
Thank you. Mr. Lander.
Thank you, Rosarina. I mean, as you well know, 40% of the 8 million New Yorkers are foreign-born. 50% live in mixed-status households, including 1 million children. This is the future of New York City that we're talking about, which is why I was proud to be a co-sponsor of those sanctuary city laws. 3 specific things I would do here. 1, it's not just the mayor. Every New York City employee needs to understand the sanctuary city laws. So I've got a detailed plan to make sure our school social workers and receptionists, our shelter security guards know the sanctuary city laws. So we'll have a network to get this information out and absolutely warn people before they walk into ICE. I've proposed creating an independent health authority to segment off city money from Medicaid money. And I want to expand NYC Care, so it's not just in health and hospitals, but in our federally qualified health centers as well. That'll make sure our immigrants are protected.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ramos.
Rosarina, Trump mintió. Trump anda detrás de todos los inmigrantes. Pensamos que solamente iban a ser los supuestos criminales y hemos visto que eso no es verdad. We have to keep ICE out of our hospitals, out of our schools, out of our houses of worship, out of any public institution, and really limit cooperation of ICE with the NYPD only when it comes to the 90-plus charges under the current sanctuary city law. Those are very serious charges. I want to make sure that... It's so funny that
one of the chatters tried to say, please speak English, and then couldn't even type that correctly. It goes to show you the mindset of the dumb hog American.
It'll be my responsibility as mayor of the city of New York to create entry points into the economy so that they can stay busy, provide for themselves and for their families, and honor the fabric of this city and of this country, which cannot function, whose future won't be brighter without our immigrants.
And that sounds like that sounds like a great plan, but would you be using taxpayers' money for that?
Yes, this is actually making sure we are expanding Action NYC and our cooperation with our community-based organizations, clinics with our 7 law schools to make sure that we are on the ground protecting and teaching people their rights.
Mr. Murray.
This isn't just a hypothetical for me. I grew up with pretty severe asthma, and both of my parents would take me to a city hospital, Kings County Hospital, when I had an asthma attack. They weren't documented then, but they knew that the city had their back. So not only would I be warning, I would be assuring them that we had their back right now. Sanctuary city laws used to not be political. Well-known progressive Rudy Giuliani stood up for our sanctuary city laws because he understood what this community meant to our city. I plan on doing the same. This isn't a time for us to give half measures to say, well, maybe under this circumstance and maybe under that circumstance. We have to stand up. They are snatching people out of our schools. They're snatching people out of our courthouses. We cannot stand for that in this moment. I have a frontline agenda. I want to hire 50 more lawyers to the law department. I want to go on the offensive. I want to utilize the 10th Amendment to ensure that we are not carrying out the federal government's immigration policies. We have to stand up in this moment. That's what I'll be as the next
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Sally?
Thank you. Let's move on to another very important topic, public schools. The city spends more of its tax dollars on public schools than anything else. But after shelling out some $40,000 a year per student, only about half of New York City kids can read or do math at grade level. Only half. Bottom line here, what do you see as the top reason for that dismal return on this $41 billion a year investment? And how would you turn it around as mayor? You'll all have 30 seconds to answer. Mr. Blake, we'll begin with you.
We have to address literacy and have a better pedagogy on the front end so that our teachers and our educators and families are able to make sure that we address this critical issue. It's the reason why I led the My Brother's Keeper program. But it also means that we have to be clear to be against any anti-blackness that is happening in our schools. And something that many people may not realize, in 2008, Andrew Cuomo said that no candidate should shuck or jive in an election. Clearly, Barack Obama was there. So when we talk about education, it's not just about making sure that we're understanding how more kids can read, but making sure we address the anti-blackness happening in schools.
We're at time, Mr. Blake, and before we move to Mr.
Cooking,
Cuomo,
dude.
would you like to respond to that?
Okay.
It's ridiculous. So no.
What about it is ridiculous?
Is it inaccurate that you said in 2008?
I never insulted President Obama.
Is
Mr. Mandami who said he is a liar?
Is the quote incorrect?
And evil.
This is
I never insulted.
Okay, not hearing an answer to
this is very clear. In 2008, in 2008.
We do have to move on because many people do want to hear about public education, so we're going to move on to Mr. Mamdani to discuss. Okay, you can have 45 seconds to respond to him, and please address the question about public schools.
Yes, absolutely. I'll do so shortly after. We have Mr. Cuomo, who said these words of shuck and jive when Barack Obama was running to be the president of our country. I was proud in 2008 that the first doors I ever knocked on was for Barack Obama, while we had a candidate here.
Why do you call him an evil and
while
a
we
liar?
have a candidate here
Why would you call him a liar?
A candidate here who is so allergic to any accountability or acknowledgement of a mistake that he can't even admit that he said these kinds of words. Now, as it pertains to public education, all of the challenges that we are facing in our city when it comes to our schools, they are also downstream from the fact that 500,000 of our children are going to sleep hungry every single night. 100,000 of them, for the 9th consecutive year, are now homeless. We need to ensure we have a city where our children can not only have food to eat, a place to call their home, and we also have to have the full implementation of class size reduction.
Mr. Tilson, we're going to move to you. And I just want to remind you, we do want to know a solution to the problem in the public school system. That is the heart of this question.
Sure.
Mr. Tilson.
The failure of our public schools is exhibit A of how city government spends way too much and delivers far too little. Our kids are reading below Mississippi's despite spending $40,000 a kid. They're the poorest state in the nation, spending 12. It's really, if you're a business person, I know, and I am for 40 years, it's bad management. There are few, if any, rewards for success and few, if any, consequences for failure. I served on the board of KIPP charter schools for more than 20 years, and 15% of our public schools, the charter schools, are held accountable. Not surprisingly, they are the best charter schools, public schools overall in the city, delivering for kids.
We have to move on, Mr. Cuomo. And I just want to remind you again, we've established that there's a problem. We're looking for solutions. Mr. Cuomo?
Gotcha. Interesting, Mandami never denied saying Obama was evil and a liar.
I believe neither of you denied the quotes that were raised.
You didn't deny that you said shuck and jive.
Neither of you denied the quotes that were raised. He did not. But we are here to talk at this moment about public schools.
The reason why he's hitting the Mamdani thing is because Barack Obama is a god. Okay, this is the Democratic primary, and that's the only valuable attack line.
Okay.
Against Zohran Mamdani.
Do you have?
No. Let's give Mr.
I'm proud that I raised education to the highest level of any state in the United States. I understand the point about we need to reform the education system. I would start with the DOE. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars on consultants. We don't know what we get. I want a real analysis of the curriculum New York City solves and New York City reads. We need more paraprofessionals in those schools. 1 out of 8 children are homeless. Okay. It's too much for a teacher to do.
Understood.
Pay the paraprofessionals.
We're at time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cuomo. Assistance.
I got it. Thank you. Mr. Myrie.
I wouldn't be standing on this stage if not for our city's public schools. I went to PS 161, the Crown School, and made my way to Cornell Law School, with Brooklyn Tech and Fordham in between, only because there were teachers that got up every single day and put their best foot forward so that I can be on a path to success. But we also have to think about what is happening after school. We had learning loss over COVID-19, and I want to provide universal after school to help make up for that learning loss. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have an after school program that taught me karate, even though I was terrible, and I was the only boy on the step team that had the moves to prove it. I want to give that to every single kid.
We're at time now. We're going to move to Ms. Ramos.
Well, now I have to shout out PS 70, IS 10, and the Academy of American Studies in Astoria. I wouldn't be here without them, and my children wouldn't be where they are in middle school in Queens if it wasn't for PS 69 in Jackson Heights. Look, it's true that our children suffered some lapses in developmental and social skills throughout the pandemic. I've seen it. So I want to make sure that we are delivering on teacher centers so that our teachers have more supports, giving NYC Reads more time to really seek in, and really providing our District 75 schools with all of the funding they deserve.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Lander, again, we are looking for solution-oriented answers here.
Both our kids also pre-K to 12 in New York City public schools. Shout out PS 107. 30 seconds is hard. I've got a detailed plan. I'm the only candidate in the race with a detailed plan on my website for education. How I'll measure what matters, what metrics I'm looking at, how I'll recruit, retain, and support teachers, including a teacher's center in every school, and how I'll deal with the growth we've seen in mental health crises, in homelessness, and in chronic absenteeism by making every school a community school so it can support all our students.
Thank you. Ms. Adams.
You know, prior to becoming an elected official, I was the education chair for my local community board. Education has always been a priority for me. It always will be. We raised 4 children in the public school system. So again, I am that everyday New Yorker that knows what this feels like. So we know that the DOE has the highest budget of all city agencies. What I would do would be to redeploy resources. I have seen as council speaker how difficult it is to maneuver through the DOE agency and the barriers of bureaucracy. But as mayor, I will have full view in order to help all of our children get through the bureaucracy and get our children taught the right way.
Mr. Stringer.
My sons, Max and Miles, are going through public middle school as we speak. And the challenge for them as COVID kids is very real. And there's a lot of kids out there that need help, and they need it now. They need mental health services. They need extra tutoring. And we're not providing that with this $40 billion budget. I know that because I audited the Department of Education more than any controller in history, found missing computers, missing iPads at the height of COVID. But here's what we have to do. Childcare, baseline pre-K, 3K. We need an after-school program that focuses on tutoring and giving kids that don't have parental resources financially the help they need. It doesn't matter how you start the race. It matters how you finish the race.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer. We're at time. David?
Okay, thank you, Sally. We call this next section of the debate, What's in a Name? We have 3 quick questions looking for fast answers. We'd like you to answer each of them with a name. We'll go down the line, starting with Mr. Stringer. Right now, who's the most effective Democrat in the country?
It's not Eric Adams. I would say the most effective Democrat right now is Hakeem Jeffries.
Okay. Mr. Blake?
I would say myself because I actually defeated Donald Trump when I was vice chair of the DNC.
Mr.
Oh, my
Mamdani?
God. Mayor Wu of Boston.
Mr. Tilson?
My old friend Cory Booker, after his 25-hour Herculean.
Thank you, Mr. Tilson. Mr. Cuomo?
Hakeem Jeffries.
Mr. Myrie?
Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins.
Ms. Ramos?
Maryland Governor Moore.
Mr. Lander?
Boston Mayor Michelle Wu.
Ms. Adams?
I would have to say the next speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries.
In the primary, voters will be ranking you 1 through 5, number 1 being their top choice for mayor. So we break up the order and start with Mr. Cuomo. Assuming you rank yourself number 1, who on this stage would you rank number 2?
I'd leave it to the voters.
So you would not put a name, or you're not sure?
No, I'd leave it to the voters.
Okay. Mr. Tilson?
I haven't decided on my number 2, but I'm an ABZ. No disrespect, Zohran, but I think his policies are dangerous.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani?
I'm more of an ABC guy, anybody but Cuomo. I'll be telling my voters, however, who to rank number 2 before Election Day.
Okay, no name was yet. Mr. Blake?
I'm going to take the Andrew Cuomo approach and not answer your question.
Mr. Stringer?
Well, you're not supposed to make news at these debates, right? No, just joking. My second choice really will be based on who I think would be the second best mayor on the stage.
Ms. Adams?
I also would rank myself number 1, of course. But we will not be breaking news as far as who my number 2 will be tonight.
All right, Mr. Lander?
Zohran.
Andrew Cuomo has shown you many times tonight why he should not be anywhere on your ballot.
Ms. Ramos?
Well, I think this debate is really good food for thought and will give us all a better idea. I'm hoping to have a better idea by the end of tonight.
Mr. Myrie?
Stay tuned.
All right. The last one, we'll start with Mr. Stringer again going around. 4 years ago in the race for mayor, who did you rank first on your ballot?
What's wrong with him? He sucks. He's a bot. He's an NPC. He is horrible. He hasn't resisted even one bit against the Trump administration's policies. They all suck. Just say AOC and Bernie or something if you want to point to a Democrat that's like good,
Wiley
or
was
say
made.
Chris Van Hollen. I don't know.
Mr. Tilson.
The Boston mayor is a good argument, though. She has actually done decent by her
Did he live
constituents.
in New York City?
He did not. He said he would have done. You said
I think it was about 30 years since he's lived here, right?
Okay. Mr. Meyer.
I ranked Meyer first.
Ms. Ramos.
I voted for Maya Wiley.
Mr. Lander.
Maya Wiley 1, Catherine Garcia 2.
Ms. Adams.
My biggest regret was voting for Eric Adams, number one, with Maya a very close second. Kathy Garcia was.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm not ranking any of you.
All right, thank you, candidates. Celia.
Okay, we're going to move on to housing. You've all made housing a top priority in your campaigns. And as you all know, the city is in a housing crisis with a vacancy rate of just 1.4%. We'd like you to explain your proposed solutions to this housing crisis and how you would pay for it. You'll have 1 minute to answer this question. Mr. Tilson, we'll begin with you.
Sure. Well, as I discussed about an hour ago, the key, I think, is to unleash the private sector to build a lot more supply, which wouldn't just stabilize rents. We have the highest rents in the country. We need to bring them down. I think they can come down by 20%. Austin just demonstrated how to do this in only 3 years. How do we do that? We need to ease zoning restrictions, fight NIMBYism, properly staff the city departments, to streamline that process. And overall, just speed up the process. It's taking 4 years to build, start to finish, and it should take only 2. I will say my plan is basically the opposite of Zohran's. He wants the city to build all new affordable housing, which I think the city has we've seen the city is no good at building and operating housing. He would also saddle us, he proposes, with $70 billion of debt. This would end up looking like California's high-speed rail project. Nothing accomplished.
We're at time. Thank you, Mr. Tilson. Mr. Cuomo, how would you try to resolve the housing crisis, and how would you pay for it?
Yeah, it's a desperate problem. I built housing for the homeless in my 20s. Excuse me. I served as HUD secretary and built housing literally all across the nation, hundreds of thousands of units. We need to blow up HPD. It's an obstacle. The city council is a bottleneck. We have to use faith-based
I'd like to respond to that.
We need to use vacant city land. I've shown that I know how to build. Look at LaGuardia Airport, look at the Kosciuszko Bridge, look at the 2nd Avenue subway. I know how to get things done. And that's what this election is all about. Not plans. Who can get something done?
Ms. Adams, yes, if you would like to very briefly respond to that since he invoked the city.
I'm going to mow every city council member who stands in my way. I'm going to them extra hard. You know I have experience in this field.
The only person on this stage actually that has experience of city governance and doing the work. The city council under my leadership right now has already walked.
It's okay, I'm Italian. This is my culture.
For the people of the city of New York. So the city council is not bottlenecking anything. Maybe perhaps 10, 20 years ago when you were a governor, that was happening. But under my leadership, we have a brand new culture in the city council where we are actually working for the people to make sure that housing is built, and housing is built now.
Very, very briefly.
Yeah. The mayor has an interesting proposal that I think we're going to see in the Charter Commission that talks about the role of the city council and expediting the approval mechanism.
Okay. Mr. Myrie, your top solution to the housing crisis. You have 1 minute to discuss it.
I grew up in a rent-stabilized apartment. It is a place that my mom, my parents were able to find, the only affordable place they were able to find to raise me to be on this stage right now. But that opportunity has slipped away for too many New Yorkers. My wife and I, we want to put down roots in the same neighborhood that we grew up in. When you walk down Bedford Avenue, everything costs $1 million. Who has $1 million? Maybe some of the people on this stage do, but I don't have it, and I know you watching at home don't have it either. So I've been clear about what my plan is to drive down the cost of housing. 1 million homes over the next 10 years. We can actually do this with some leadership. The leaders of the past, like Cuomo, who had the opportunity to do this, only gave us a city that is more expensive than it was 10 years ago. I want to also extend pre-K and 3K from 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. so that we can draw families here and keep them here. And I want universal free after school for every kid in this city, because it has to be a city where you can raise a family and where we can move everyone to a path to success.
And very, very briefly, what is your price tag on those 1 million new homes?
My plan does not require us to raise taxes and reduce the private market in order to build housing. Incentivize.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ramos.
Property tax reform is at the crux of our affordable housing crisis in this city. I want to make sure that we are helping homeowners and landlords bring down their costs. Water rates, the cost of water has skyrocketed in the past 3 years under the current administration. And then I want to freeze the rent. As a rent stabilized tenant, I know how tough it is to be able to keep up with rent. The rent is too damn high and the wages are too damn low in this city. So I want to make sure that we are unwarehousing the 5,000 apartments that NYCHA is hanging on to. I want to make sure they're repaired so that we can chip into that 200,000 New Yorker waiting list. I also want to bring back the co-op city model so that we can attract the city services that are needed. We need more nurses. We need more teachers. We need more doctors. We need more police officers and firefighters. So I want to build more low-income rentals and modest equity homeownership opportunities so that every New Yorker can own a piece of our city.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Mr. Lander.
Everyone on the stage talks about affordable housing. I've spent 3 decades delivering it. Spent 15 years before I ever got into elected office with my sleeves rolled up, renovating abandoned buildings and vacant lots into affordable homes. In the city council, I was the champion for the Gowanus redevelopment, 8,000 new units, 3,000 genuinely affordable. Saved the 35,000 units of Signature Bank rent stabilized housing when they were put at risk by Signature's failure. So I know how to do this. That's the leadership I'll bring to City Hall. I'll declare a housing emergency on day one. I put out a detailed plan for how we can build 500,000 homes over the next 10 years, and I've laid out where, including 50,000 units in great new neighborhoods on 4 of the city's 12 city-owned golf courses. Might be losing the golf vote tonight, but we need the pathway to homeownership and genuine rental housing. I've also laid out detailed plans for how to fix HPD and NYCHA. I've got the management experience. I can deliver those homes.
Thank you. For viewers at home, that's the Housing Department and the New York City Housing Authority.
Thank you.
Ms. Adams, given that you spoke about this before, we're going to give you 30 seconds to continue your answer.
Yes, already doing the work. Don't need a manual or a transcript in order to do it. I'm already doing it currently as we speak. So I've already delivered thousands of affordable units to people of the city of New York. We can take a look at Innovation Queens, the largest privately developed structure that is coming up right now, unheard of. We can look at Bronx Metro North rezoning. We can also look at what we just passed 2 weeks ago, the Atlantic Avenue rezoning. And yes, we can take a look at the City for All, which will create over 80,000 brand new affordable units.
We have to move on to Mr. Stringer.
Doing the work.
Thank you. Mr. Stringer, can you please talk about your housing plan and how you would pay for it?
Well, first of all, this housing crisis is way too real, and we've confronted housing issues in the past. Mayor stepped up and didn't do the minimum, they did the maximum. LaGuardia built 2,200 public housing units. The Mitchell-Lama housing program, the greatest integrated housing program in a generation, was also built. Right now, all we do is have luxury developers propose projects that gives us affordable housing. I want to upend this. My plan, take 1,000 vacant lots. Build the affordable housing that we need. You give the land to not-for-profits, to community-based organizations. We're in the game. This is not pie in the sky. I can't say to you tonight, given my 30 years of experience, that anyone has a plan to build 1 million homes or 500,000 homes in 10 years. Don't believe it. Believe what we can do in the next 2 years. That's the first step. Lastly, we also have to recognize who can best do this work.
This chatter is correct. They never asked their stances about Israel. What's going on?
For 8 years.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Chatter, you are right. They never asked about Israel.
Housing crisis, you have to actually go through the journey. My mama overcame homelessness. We sold dinners to pay rent in South Bronx. And so this is not about a report from me. This is about reality. So how do we fix the crisis? We need local median income because area median income is not working. We need to end credit scores being utilized for housing applications.
Who cares about Israel? What do you mean? M Israel high, brother. What the? How will I know who to vote for?
When you think about what's happening
so far, I only know who likes Israel the most by ribbon sizes.
To happen at Co-op City or Concourse Village, Tracy's Towers, just name a few. But then we got to go a step further. For public housing and those that are living in NYCHA, for those who have not helped you with heat and hot water, they need to go to jail because they are not being held accountable to actually fight for you. And so when we talk about the actual vision of a housing plan, if you go to blakefornyc.com, you will see the welcome home vision because we want to make sure you can afford the home you deserve.
Mr. Blake, we're at time. Just a very quick follow-up. Who are you implying should be going to jail?
the individuals that are working at NYCHA that were a part of a bribery scheme that has been unveiled and undercovered, where it's been very clear that they were taking in bribes and not actually fix what's happening in the residences.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mamdani, we'll go to you.
If you are one of the close to 2.5 million New Yorkers who live in rent-stabilized housing, I will freeze your rent. And I will do that because you have a median household income of $60,000 while your landlord profits have increased by 12%. This is an act that will bring nearly $7 billion back into your pocket and back into the pockets of our local economy. This is what we will do immediately, and we'll do so because the mayor has the power to. Even though there are those like Andrew Cuomo on this stage who will tell you it's unrealistic, we know the previous mayor actually did this 3 times. And on top of this, we're going to build 200,000 truly affordable homes. Homes that are for the New Yorker who has a median household income of $70,000 for a family of 4. We'll do this while taking on the very bad landlords and the real estate developers who are funding Andrew Cuomo's campaign, $2.5 million last time I checked. And we're going to do that because ultimately every single person needs to follow the law, and that includes the landlords who are violating our housing code and have $800 million in fines that the city have yet to actually collect on.
Very brief response. Very brief response, Mr. Cuomo.
Mr. Mamdani is very good at videos, but not reality.
We've already heard that line before.
The Daily News said that his plan to finance his proposals, it violates the constitutional debt cap of the city of New York. It would double the state taxes, and there is no way the state is going to pass a tax statewide.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cuomo. We have to.
No, he's invoked me. I should be able to respond. Just for 10 seconds. Just for 10 seconds here.
Brief response.
What the governor is speaking about is when we want to fight for working class people, it's considered unrealistic. But when he wants to give Elon Musk a $1 billion tax break, it's totally feasible. What the Daily News found is that this would mean taking a $30 billion budget, increasing it such that we could actually create truly affordable housing.
All right. We have to move on. We have some breaking news we want to ask you about. The Trump administration is threatening the accreditation of Columbia University. In a statement, Secretary of Education Linda McMahon said after Hamas's October 7, 2023 terror attack on Israel, Columbia University's leadership acted with deliberate indifference towards the harassment of Jewish students on its campus. This is not only immoral, but also unlawful. That is a statement from the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. 30 seconds. What's your reaction to this move? Mr. Cuomo, we'll begin with you.
I think you have 2 separate issues. Number one, I do believe there's been anti-Semitism in the city. I believe it's a growing problem. And I believe the rhetoric about Israel has actually inflamed the anti-Semitism. Put that aside. I think this is just another overreach of the Trump administration. Now he's going to take over the academic universities in this country. He is literally attacking the foundation of democracy.
I was not pooping.
And he must be opposed at every turn.
Mr. Tilson, your reaction to this, threatening the accreditation of Columbia University.
Yeah, I'm totally appalled by 2 things. First, the failure of Columbia and other elite institutions to adequately act quickly after the October 7th attacks on mobs that were creating a very dangerous environment for Jewish students. My daughter is one of them in college right now. My wife and children are Jewish. This is personal to me. But I am, and these mobs, let's be clear, were incited by activists like the Democratic Socialists of America and their anti-Israel rhetoric.
Mr. Tilson,
I am even more appalled, however, by the Trump administration pretending to care about anti-Semitism and threatening the accreditation of universities.
Mr. Mamdani.
I think this is yet another example of a gross overreach of the Trump administration, one that they have shown they will continue to pursue with whichever university they decide to target. It's been Columbia, it's been Harvard. We need to have a mayor that will actually stand up to Donald Trump, not one that we have right now that will collaborate with them. And that is who I will be, as someone who is, in the words of Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed because the donors who are putting me in second place in this race are working class New Yorkers across this city.
Mr. Blake, 30 seconds, please.
As a reverend, let's start from the core that all hostages have to come back home on both sides. Let's also be very clear that we have to reject anti-Semitism and also have humanity to what's happening for the Palestinian people at the same time. The overreach is unacceptable, and what Trump is doing, Linda McMahon is clearly more focused on wrestling rather than the facts. And it's one of the reasons why I'm running in this race. Because of my federal experience.
I've never heard that from a Democrat. Hostages on both sides must be released.
We have to make sure that we're not allowing D.C. to have overreach. And when they take these steps, we will withhold sending New York City taxes to D.C.
Maybe Zohran should be taking notes from Blake, bro. What the hell?
That on so many of these college campuses, the anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish hate is very real.
Oh,
and we
my
have to make sure that is accountable to make sure every student.
You guys sound like Trump. You sound exactly like Trump. You are literally Donald Trump on this issue.
Everything.
These people are so stupid. Really Steven Pinker doesn't even agree with you, and he sucks. I can't believe Steven Pinker's like, what are you guys talking about with anti-Semitism about campuses?
Fund the civil rights divisions. He would not cut programs that could go a long way to fostering the ability for all different people to work together and come together.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, your reaction. The Trump administration says that the university's leadership acted with deliberate indifference towards the harassment of Jewish students. It's now targeting or perhaps threatening their accreditation. Your reaction?
You know, all New Yorkers deserve to feel safe no matter who they are. As Speaker, I've allocated over $18 million to combat anti-Semitism in New York City. As mayor, I will continue to combat anti-Semitism within the city of New York. We have got to come against this Trump administration who is now terrorizing our college students, our students across the country. We have to have a mayor who will stand up. I've been that speaker that will stand up. As mayor, I will continue to stand up against Donald Trump. Our students deserve to be in safe spaces on all of our college campuses.
Okay. Thank you.
Bro, how do you guys go from, I hate Donald Trump, we must defend our institutions against Donald Trump, except for when it comes to Israel?
I feel it really personally after the flame throwing in Boulder, Colorado, and the 2 murders in Washington, D.C. I go to a lot of Jewish communal events, and you can't just be looking over your shoulder. So I've got a really detailed plan for how we're going to deal with hate crimes and anti-Semitism in New York City. But let's be clear, Donald Trump, he platforms white nationalists and anti-Semites all the time. This has nothing to do with keeping anyone safe, and trying to discredit Harvard or Columbia is about destroying higher education and democracy.
Thank you, Mr. Lander.
Won't keep Jews safe.
Ms. Ramos.
Look, McMahon is no educator, and Trump has no interest in funding our education. He is trying to make our education less accessible to students. I do wish Columbia University fought the way Harvard has. We have to stand up to Trump. We have to be willing to fight back, to sue, and that is exactly what I will do as your mayor to make sure that we are keeping our Jewish students safe, our Muslim students safe, and that we are fighting bigotry at every turn. There is no room for the skyrocketing anti-Semitism that we are seeing in our communities.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos.
And the xenophobia must end.
Mr. Byron.
There has been a clear and unequivocal rise in anti-Semitism in this city and across this country. And we have to be just as clear and unequivocal in calling it out and rooting it out wherever it rears its ugly head. That is what I'm going to do as mayor. But come on, this is New York City. Our Jewish friends and our neighbors, they make our city what it is. Kindergarten through 8th grade, I went to school next to Beit Rivka. That is part of what makes our city great. This is a shameful, unconstitutional overreach by this Trump administration, and it is pattern and practice for what they have done all across our city and country.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to stay in the area of Columbia University with our next question, and Sally Goldenberg.
Thank you, David. The case of Mahmoud Khalil, a permanent U.S. resident who helped lead pro-Palestinian protests, drags on in the courts. The Trump administration wants to deport Khalil, accusing him of supporting Hamas, a terrorist group, and making Jewish students feel less safe on campus. They say he's a threat to foreign policy. He was arrested and detained, but has not been formally charged with a crime, and he says he's done nothing wrong. We're looking for a very short answer here, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Mamdani. Do you believe that Mr. Khalil should be set free or deported?
He should be set free. He should be at home with his wife, Noor, and their young child. And the fact that he is still in Louisiana is an abomination. It's an attack on our First Amendment. And it is clear, another example of Donald Trump weaponizing the very real issue of anti-Semitism to then throw Palestinian New Yorkers into detention facilities and not even tell us what the crime is that they're charged with.
Thank you. Mr. Tillerson.
Nice.
I can't answer the question without knowing all the facts right now. It certainly looks like another case. Stop, let me finish. It looks like another case of Trump administration overreach. They need to prove their case and show that he has ties to terrorism. That would justify via due process revoking his green card and deporting him.
I hate him so much. Oh my God.
be able to do that, and therefore he should be set free.
Why don't you believe in the Armenian genocide? What do you mean?
Mr. Cuomo.
Where are you getting this information from, Chatter?
Trump eroding democracy.
When have I ever said that I don't believe in the Armenian genocide? Why do you have to fantasize about positions I don't have?
Mr. Myrie.
He should be immediately set free.
Ms. Ramos.
We have due process in our Constitution for every person. Mahmoud Khalil is no exception. He belongs home with his family, just like Andrea Hernandez and so many others who have been unlawfully abducted by ICE.
Mr. Lander.
Mahmoud Khalil should be at home with his family, and so should Dillard Contreras, a New York City public high school student that ICE tricked and then arrested and is trying to deport. We've got to stand up, make sure folks have legal services, and then New York City has their back.
Ms. Adams?
Yes, Mahmoud Khalil should be released immediately. There is no due process in Donald Trump's America, and that is why we all have to pull together and fight this chaotic Trump administration. It cannot be allowed to harm more families, to harm more individuals that have committed no crime. This should be unacceptable to every American and everyone that lives in this country.
Thank you. Mr. Stringer.
As a Jewish American whose wife works at the Jewish Museum in Lower Manhattan fighting the Holocaust, fighting to make sure we remember the Holocaust, I will say unequivocally that taking this man off the streets and others off the streets without any charges or any rationale is a direct horrifying moment for our Constitution. Donald Trump should be ashamed of himself for doing this.
Mr. Blake?
Mahmoud should be home with his family, full stop. It's really that easy, Whitney. Extended on this is the appreciation and understanding that whether it be Dylan from the Bronx or any of our communities, we should not believe that a convicted felon president is actually going to ever honor the Constitution. It's the reason why we have to make sure we protect our immigrants and have more lawyers at our immigration hearings, because we should actually know where individuals are so they have a chance to fight for their own justice.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. We're moving on to a subject that none of you are discussing much on the campaign trail, but it could reshape the city in the next few years, and that is the rapid advance of artificial intelligence. It could improve many things in the city, but it could also eliminate thousands of jobs. So the next mayor will likely have some opportunities to replace some city workers with AI technology and in the process save hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. AI will certainly be on the table when city labor contracts expire. So here's the question. Is there an area where you would consider replacing city workers with AI if it saves tax dollars? And would you also offer any protections to city workers? You'll have 30 seconds to answer. We'll begin with you, Mr. Mamdani.
Well, I think Andrew Cuomo would tell you that he's already replaced a campaign worker who would have written his housing policy with AI because he had it written by ChatGPT. I can tell you that I'm proud to be endorsed by the labor union representing the largest number of city workers, DC 37. And I'm proud of that because my approach to artificial intelligence will be one where we can find efficiencies in the contracts and consultants that we work with as a city, but we are not going to use this language of artificial intelligence as a justification for further layoffs of city workers.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, time. Thank you. Mr. Tilson?
Yeah, I think actually AI is going to be a home run for this city because we are second only to Silicon Valley, the sort of tech hub, the East Coast tech hub for a lot of these West Coast companies. So whatever we might lose in some jobs, I think we're going to gain if we're smart, if we roll out the carpet, because we have the knowledge workers here to attract these entrepreneurial businesses. But we've got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot with left-wing madness, like driving away Amazon and the 40,000 jobs that they wanted to bring here. And lastly, I'll say we can use AI to bring a lot of permitting by the city online to
Thank you, Mr. Tilson. Mr. Cuomo, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I am the candidate on the stage who's endorsed by more labor unions than anyone else, over 650,000 working men and women, and I'm proud of it. AI is undeniable. It's coming. There's I think, a tremendous opportunity for economic development here in New York. By bringing AI to New York and bringing those businesses here. The West Coast doesn't have a franchise. You hear a lot of four-letter words here. You hear free, you hear taxes. You don't hear jobs. We need opportunities, we need jobs, and we want to reorganize government. AI can help, but we want to protect jobs.
Mr. Myrie, you have 30 seconds.
I'm the proud son of a city worker. My dad taught special education in the Bronx.
This guy loves going back to his background. He's like, I have autism, I have asthma, I went to a kindergarten where there were Jews around.
To serve this city. We actually have thousands of vacancies in our city workforce now, so I want to hire more city workers to get them to do it. Of course, AI is going to have a role to play going forward. We have to all play a role in ensuring that this is an industry that grows in our city. One way we're going to make us attractive
Thank you, Mr.
is 1 million homes over the next 10 years.
Thank you. Ms. Ramos.
I wrote the law to protect our artists, our actors, image and likeness from AI's use through movie
Every day
studios.
I walk out of my building,
and
down
that's
my block,
exactly what I want to do. I want to put the power in our workers' hands to help us lead the transition into the use of artificial intelligence. We can't be Luddites, but we do have to make sure that
the most dangerous place in America for Jews is the Upper West Side of New York.
them and repurpose them for mental health capacities where we have deep shortages.
The most dangerous place on the planet for
Three
Jews.
strategies I've proposed to use AI and technology to make government more efficient that won't cost any jobs but will save us money.
Columbia campus.
Last year we paid out over $2 billion to settle 12,000 claims. I have an RFP in the field to use machine learning and AI to find patterns, put it on the books of the agencies that cause it so we can actually reduce that. Second, we should have NYCHA vendor scorecards that enable residents to rate the repair vendors that come into their units. And we're not doing that right now. We could make much better use of our taxpayer dollars
Thank you,
by
Mr.
going
Lander.
with the vendors who actually get the work done.
Thank you.
And
Ms.
third, she
I'm
says I got 15.
Oh,
I got the 15 seconds.
sorry, mixed signals.
Okay. I got one more idea for the next time.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Ms. Adams?
You know, I'm not a career politician. I come out of the world of corporate America, so I know the benefit of technology. I actually used to teach tech in another life, so I know the benefits of AI. I think it's something that we need to embrace as New Yorkers. I think that it's something that can bring a lot of profits into New York City. That said, we should not balance AI along with the release of our workers that can do such a great job and are doing such a great job for our city. There is a balance here. As mayor, I will reckon that balance and reconcile that balance so that we do not lose.
Thank you, Ms. Adams.
We are training our workforce towards embracing AI.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer.
Look, I think AI is a great opportunity for the New York City economy, and we should embrace it. But we also have to know that with any new technology comes the job of the mayor to protect our workers and our citizens. And I don't think it's an either-or question. I think AI can come in and actually have a benefit to the city workforce. Imagine training new kids at CUNY and places to get into the tech economy. This is one vehicle to do it. Obviously, as mayor, you have to worry about the abuses. I will do that. My record as a pro-labor elected official, borough president, controller is without question, and I believe we can manage this.
Okay. Mr. Blake, I'm sorry, I jumped that. Mr. Blake, you have the final word. That was my mistake.
Our campaign theme is Tomorrow Begins Today, and that's the epitome of when we talk about for AI. As a small business owner, which I've managed more than 15,000 people across the country over the years, it's the appreciation of groups such as Adventure or National Gem Consortium on the Knowledge House, so we can be very intentional how AI can be utilized for good. I would say also specifically, we need technology for good. You can track a flight or food, but you cannot track closing a residential repair in your home. So we have to find better ways. And to your last part of your question, you can do that and equally create jobs while reducing regulation and red tape at the same time.
Candidates, thank you. We have a few short questions, lightning round questions, some call them, just to get a glimpse of your thinking on some of the issues that are relevant to New Yorkers. So New Yorkers are feeling stressed about housing in the city, as you've all alluded to, as we know. How much do you pay each month for rent or a mortgage? We'll go left to right. Ms. Adams?
Our home is paid. I'm a homeowner.
Okay. Mr. Lander?
We have a mortgage, a home with one rental unit. The total mortgage on the house, $3,300.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ramos?
We rent. We pay $2,500 a month.
Okay. Mr. Myrie?
In a rent-stabilized apartment I grew up in, $1,300.
Mr. Cuomo?
$7,800.
Mr. Tilson?
I own and pay about $5,000 a month in maintenance and taxes.
Mr. Mamdani?
$2,300 for my one bedroom in Astoria.
Mr. Blake?
About $1,800 for the home that I own with our family.
Okay. Mr. Stringer?
I'm getting ripped off $6,400 a month.
Property tax reform.
Come on,
I can do it.
All right, thank you. Helicopter traffic around Manhattan is a constant debate. It's a complaint for many. Should helicopter traffic be limited?
I can't be the only one who's confused that Andrew Cuomo doesn't own his own estate.
Mr. Mamdani?
Like,
yes, we should.
Yeah, his rent is insane. But also,
Yes,
he's renting?
Mr. Cuomo?
It should be limited, yes, sir.
Especially out of Westchester.
Mr. Myrie?
Yes, and I've co-sponsored legislation in the state to that effect.
Okay. Ms. Ramos?
Stop the chop.
Mr. Lander?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Adams?
Already doing the work. We've already passed a bill in the city council.
Okay. The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Okay. Ms. Lander. Mr. Lander, sorry.
Boy, what Trump is doing to Canada, there's a lot of opportunities for us to partner better with them.
Ms. Ramos.
I'd love to meet Claudia Sheinbaum, but I'd probably head to Colombia to my parents' homeland.
Great fucking take.
I am the proud son of 2 Caribbean immigrants. I represent a robust Caribbean constituency. I'd like to go to the Caribbean as my first visit.
Look, he did it again.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies.
Bro, New York Jews don't even fuck Israel like that, dude. Stop!
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
What? What the hell's going on? What the hell's going on?
I've said travel to Israel to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers. And that is what I will be doing, New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't say it has a right to exist as a Jewish state.
He won't visit.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
All right,
and I want to be very
answered,
clear. I believe every state should be a state of equal rights.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Blake, where would you go on your first foreign visit as mayor of New York?
My full name is Michael Alexander Blake. I'm named after Michael Manley Alexander Bustamante. So, of course, I'm going to go to Jamaica to mash up the place, my fellow patois Jamaicans out here.
What is happening with this? What's going on with this delay?
It'll be a great
what is
trip.
this delay?
All right, I'm sorry.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means.
What?
Okay, about a minute left. What's your favorite go-to pizza spot? What's your order? Mr. Cuomo, we'll start with you.
Gabby's in Queens.
Mr. Myrie.
Gino's Pizza, Flatbush Ave.
Ms. Ramos.
Louise on Baxter Avenue in Elmhurst.
Mr. Lander.
Jafar is in Midwood.
Ms. Adams.
Alba, Queens Boulevard.
Mr. Stringer.
It's Kid's Choice, Joe's.
Mr. Blake.
Vinny's, Grand Concourse, Burnside.
Mr. Mamdani.
I grew up in Morningside Heights, so I have to say Coronets.
Okay.
And Danino's in Staten Island.
Okay. All right. And real quickly, this will be thumbs up, thumbs down. Maybe your reaction. We already heard this from one. To the Knicks firing their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. Miss Adams. Thumbs down. Mr. Thumbs down. Thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Our goal is to win the finals. Okay. It's not to get to the conference finals.
Thank you all for a spirited debate. That's all the time we have. Again, we thank the candidates for an informative evening tonight. We also thank the New York City Campaign Finance Board. Urge you to check out their website, nycvotes.org. It has information on the candidates in race, and importantly, you'll learn more about ranked choice voting, which is how the nominees for mayor will be selected. For all of us here at NBC New York and Telemundo 47 and Politico, go vote June 24th.
I'm losing my mind. Jumping on Zohran on the Israel question was hella weird. Bro, that was so insane. That was so insane. Okay, let me explain to you something. First, they went, does Israel have a right to exist? Which, again, no state has a right to exist, okay? Nazi Germany did not have a right to exist, and it didn't exist any longer after World War II. Apartheid South Africa did not have a right to exist. Rhodesia did not have a right to exist. Okay? So Zohran being like, Israel has a right to exist, again, bad answer to begin with, okay? Now, once you answer it like that, now they're saying, does Israel have a right to exist as a Jewish state? Which it abso-fucking-lutely does not. Okay? No. He's saying Israel has a right to exist as a state with equal rights is correct. I cannot believe that this is now a major point of contention that they're posting